interesting. Like half of my room lost power, just half, mind you, for I don't know, two, 5 minutes somewhere in there. Um, so let me find my notes again because I have no idea why they're not here. Uh, and I was doing some stuff in the meantime too. But it's just so funny to have technical issues like that, and that's part of why we're doing things like this week. Zootopia. All right, so let's put that back right there. Okay, so where we left off, we had just talked about. Oh yeah, the ceremony where the mayor's making fun, or not making fun of, but pushing the assistant mayor. Understand? Um, and the so we go through the country bunny city life montage and some beautiful scenery. They really worked very hard to get everything up together. Um, um, I gotta. I want. It's important to support friends in the communities where you can, but I've got to focus. Um, Steph's got this. Okay. Um, so we go through the country bunny city life cliche. We're going through all the beautiful scenery there. Um, the rabbits are the rabbit parents are predator shaming, which is really interesting. Just that that's what's happening. But you got to think about it as old blood, new blood. The old blood, the existing society, what's it called? The hopefully that's not too loud. The incumbent, that's it. The existing group is pushing that, and the new blood is saying, "Hey, we don't have to live like that anymore. We can think outside the box. We can do new things." Because I'm new, and it's fine. Um, uh, so they go back. They revisit the attack by getting Fox, and they try to use that against her. Her dad even tries to give her a Fox taser or something. It's like this thing the size of his head that he can't hold onto while it's activating. And I think she ends up taking like Fox spray or something. But that's it. I think that's because mom slips it into her pocket or something silly like that. Uh, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I got it mixed up. I should have had that indented. That's bad notes on my part. But then we go to that montage I was talking about. And I don't know why giraffes are so funny, but there are a couple really good giraffe jokes in this. I think there's like a yoga one that's not in my notes later. But like they show a couple of things like coming up the escalator. I'm just like, why are you showing this? And they show the rabbit because like it's like about 7 seconds long, but it's like 1 second, 5 seconds of neck, and then 1 second. And I'm laughing just thinking about it. It was a really good joke. I'm really glad they put it in there. That was someone like wrote a note down, and they're like, animate that. We'll see where we can put it in. And so they put it in this type of montage. Let's see. Uh, the whole point of it is to kind of show the diversity of the different animals and the fact that like everybody's there, predator and prey, living together because it's not the norm for overall society per se. Um, but there's some really cute things, like I mentioned, the giraffe, the hamster tubes, this idea of them coming down like the Jetsons and just boop 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 boop, and then their little suits. Um, yeah, just to show the diversity of it. And of course, it is a big city life. It's supposed to be something like New York, where everything's happening, and so they are showing Judy's apartment, and it is tiny, even for a bunny. It's tiny. You got the loud neighbors. I think they're gazelles. I could be wrong, but they're like they totally New York neighbors. They don't apologize for it. They're like, yeah, we're loud. Don't expect us to fix it. Um, and there's some funny scenes that I'm just gonna mention it now, where like they're talking, and the idea is that like you can hear them through each other through the walls because the walls are thin, whatever, because they're old buildings, and then they're speaking so loudly the walls vibrate, and the pictures actually flap on the walls. It's amazing. Such a subtle thing that just really, it's hard to not to watch Disney and Pixar movies in detail, because every time you go back and watch, you see new things like that. So we're looking at this. So yeah, so she's just super positive the whole time. She can't wait to get up, get started. She gets up early, and she's walking out the door. She has that moment where she's like, "It's a new life. I'm gonna leave the past behind. I don't need the fox spray." And then we focus on it for way too long. Honestly, way too long. And then she comes back and gets it. And we're like, "Yeah, that's what you were leading to there." Because what they could have done, because the movie went in two directions there. It could have gone where she comes back and gets it, and we see the movie that we see, or it could have gone a fade to black on it, where she literally leaves it behind, and then she goes through, and she's gonna end up doing the same things, but she goes in with open arms, and maybe actually she gets hurt again because of it, where she's not capable. But in all, it's better to be prepared and not have to use that preparation than to go in unprepared. You can only do what you can do, but you do it. Then there's this really shitty thing. Okay, so we meet the fat cheetah, which I really like his character. I think he's fun. At the desk, he's just a big donut eater. But then we have the bunny. Can call a bunny, but when someone else says it, it's offensive, and it's supposed to be a joke about nigger or whatever, and I don't appreciate being made to think that. I don't like that word. I only ever use it academically, and even then I do it with great pains, because I don't like that it exists. The word means less than human, so if you're using it in any other context, you're doing it wrong. I get there's a cultural appropriation of it, and there's power in taking words back, but words mean things. You use them how they're supposed to mean. It bothers me when that doesn't happen. That's me. Just like you have your right to your opinion, I have the right to mine, and we'll just leave it at that. So let's see. Oh yeah, and then the fat cheetah joke even goes as far as like he lost a donut in the folds of his neck, and a fat cheetah's funny, but like just on its own, it's like you don't need to go that far with it. I really like the Judy's like so amped up, like she gets in there for assignments, she sits in her own chair, and she actually fist bumps the rhino, and the rhino like I think literally moves her when he fist bumps her. And they're both laughing about it. They do an elephant in the room joke, because it's Zootopia, and of course there's an elephant in the room. Let's see. They go on about like how there's a spree of missing predators happening. They go through distribution of cases. Of course, Judy gets put on parking duty because she's a little bunny, and they don't consider her to be a real cop. And she has this tiny car to match. And then she's told to do 100 tickets a day. She claims 200 by lunch. So in theory, that means she's doing 4 times the output expected. And if you were having that much parking problems in there, boot cars and pound them, take away driver's licenses. That'll fix that. People like you may complain about it, but it's the laws. It's what agreed to. Just handle it. Handle your business. Do what you're supposed to do. God damn it. If you're there more than 5 minutes, and the parking meters are another thing, but like you're what's up. She goes through it with gusto. She goes into like handing out all these tickets and stupid whatever. There's some really cute subtle ear jokes. It's not as subtle, like they focus on it, but like she's able like to hear parking meters expire or whatever. She's dashing around. She's going so fast she even blows over a little mouse car. I thought it was a really nice touch. I'm not sure how mouse cars work on the main road. I would assume that there's another network available. And of course they can't, like we focus on this a little bit in just a bit, but you can't deny service to a road in a normal sized restaurant or whatever, even though there are other places. But the road's like that's a physical endangerment type thing. I don't know what to do with that. Yeah, calendar. I'm on top of things. We're dealing with stuff. Okay, so she spots the profile as a fox, so she starts to follow him because she's an asshole cop right that second. And then she sees that, like, oh, it's just, there's a legitimate story here. He's actually being wronged. And the elephants aren't, like, being clever, like, oh, we know what he's doing. We're gonna prevent this crime from happening. Oh, my microphone is not being held in place properly. Oh, jeez. Okay, so, they're just being douchebags as well. So she busts them on some like technicality with bare trunk contact with the food and blah, because that is kind of gross the way they described it, like mucus and whatnot in cookies and cream. I like cookies and cream, so I personally related to that. But of course, she follows them on this huge thing of like they're going to like one part of town to melt it down, and they're using rain gutters, which is gross. So they can jar it and then refreeze it as little pops, and then sell off to hamsters, and then sell the popsicle sticks as lumber. Which I don't know if you've ever made anything out of popsicle sticks, but I don't think that it's load bearing in the sense that this world needs it to be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe popsicle sticks are friggin' miracle lumber for rodent houses. But, hell, honestly, they recycled. They're using the resources there. They bought at retail, too. They bought the Jumbo Pop at retail, not at cost. So they're actually losing money on this business venture. And unless they have, I mean, he's got all the permits and stuff, so, like, they're really not doing anything wrong. It's not a hustle. It's just, hey, I need to buy Jumbo Pops from you. Let me buy Jumbo Pops, and what I do with it is my business. I'm not going to go off on a tangent with that, but, like, that's what it is. It actually makes sense. The part that was messed up is that he did I forgot my wallet con on her and got her to pay for it. So he should have paid her back, for sure, for that Jumbo Pop she paid for. So that was kind of messed up. All the line is really unnecessary, but it wasn't wrong. It's just dickery. And then, of course, the touching moment out there. And toot toot. Oh, toot toot. And then the baby drives the van away after, like, all the Tundra Pops and stuff. So, it's funny in hell. But, like, and he's got, like, just this really loud, deep voice. I think they were trying to, like, do a throwback to Who Framed Roger Rabbit with that. But it didn't land as well. I'm kind of glad they didn't involve him more, and they really got away with it, because Judy busts him, and then kind of blackmails him, or extorts him into working with her on this case. Even though he's super condescending. He even does kind of like the villainous monologuing, where he throws everything out into her face and be like, hey, this is this is that. And you can't do anything about it. And then for some reason, she sticks her big feet in the wet cement. I don't understand that one, how she did not realize that. So after a long day, like, she goes back to her crap apartment, all this badly phrased music on the radio, and then the carrot for one, I don't understand that one at all. Like, where it was like one teeny tiny carrot. But it was a cute idea, to do like Lonely Man dinners for a rabbit. It's just interesting. So, and then she talks to her parents. She lies to them. So it's the big city trope of like the big city's gonna change you, and you're not gonna be who you are when you went there, and etc. 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 Oh man. Let's see. And yeah, and her parents they get wind of, like, that she's doing parking tickets and she's not a real cop, that she'll be safe. Even the neighbors are kind of piling in, and like I said, the picture's moving her there. And she's so depressed the next day that she almost misses the chance to catch the robber, the weasel robber. And they go through this huge chase. She tells some rhino, like, she's got dibs. You know, he's like, you should wait for backup. Like, no, like, someone has to pursue, at least keep eyes on him. so that they can report back. She should be on comms, but like she should be pursuing. If she can take him down, great, but she shouldn't let him get away. She shouldn't lose him. But what's really weird is like the size of everything, because the weasel, I get weasels are big, but rabbits should still be bigger. They're about the same size. Whatever. The otter, that was the problem I had. The otter should definitely be bigger. But then they go into like little rodentia somehow, and they're both like kaiju. It's really funny. So they're fighting and running around. Of course, everything gets wrapped up with this donut getting involved, and she saves some girl, and then manages to rein in the weasel with the donut and take him in. And then for some reason the chief chews her out for it. It's like, there's one thing when you don't like somebody, but it's another thing when you're actively admonishing them for doing their job. Like, how dare you catch a criminal? Because no one else did it. No one else was really in pursuit. No one else was ready to catch him. It'd be another thing if, like, he had ran into the arms of the rhino or somebody else, and then it was like, well, what are you doing here? What did you do to help this? That would be the thing that would solidify that point. But it's not the point. The point is that she did the right thing and he's a jerk. He's rabbitist. I don't know what you say, how you say that. And then the cheetah can't stop Mrs. Otterton from interrupting for some reason. Now, granted, otters are pretty wily. I'll give them that. But like, she's way too small compared to Judy. I thought that was really strange. But of course, leads back to the predators that are missing. And Judy offers to investigate. And of course, the chief takes offense and tries to fire her. But then the assistant mayor gets wind of it. She happens to be outside. And it locks in it. And so that's where we get the rest of our movie from, is by this lucky happenstance. Assistant mayor ex machina, whatever you want to call it. But it's plot device, if you will. It's the whole thing that hinges there. But there's this ridiculous 48-hour result things, especially when the chief knows she hasn't been fully in process yet, so she's not in the system. So she doesn't even have the resources to look up information on the case properly in the database. So, like, and the cheetah, like, spells that out for the kids. It'd be like, oh, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have this, because she doesn't have a partner. She doesn't have any friends in the department. I mean, the cheetah guy is the one that likes her the most, and he likes everybody, and he works the desk, because probably no one likes him either. And he likes people, so he gets to annoy people that come in to bother them, and other people don't have to be bothered by them. So, so for whatever reason, the assistant mayor is trying to bond with her because they're both small prey, which I get and I don't get, but man, they are really like trying to hammer certain bits home, and it's like they didn't use a mallet; they used a mallet with a hole in it. So it's like you got to hit it just right, otherwise it doesn't come through. So. And the 48-hour thing is ridiculous, but she does have one lead or whatever that she finds that Nick the fox is involved somehow. He's like seen nearby at the last sighting of him, so she goes to investigate there. Boots' stroller, which I thought was hilarious. I thought it was so funny that there are cars the same size as strollers, so there are boots for those cars that would fit on a stroller. It's an ingenious concept. It really, really is. But of course, she has this little recording pen, and she uses that to extort him for tax evasion, which is actually pretty clever, if you will. But the point is that he knows something, so she can get that out of him to do the right thing. So Nick fucks with her all day, honestly, but takes her to this smelly bison, who's like not a Reiki. It's like, he's not a monk, but he's someone who like meditates and looks for the enlightened path, that type of philosophical type thing. But he's also kind of idiot, so he's like, oh yeah, there's this. Well, I don't know why I went Canadian there. That's a little unfortunate, eh? Because he's not talking like this. He talks more like a surfer bro dude, kind of like this dude. Yeah. So he's like, let's talk to her yoga instructor, and he takes her through the nudist resort there. Because it's a Disney movie, so you have to have a nudist resort, right? Right? It's a kids movie. Why not? Well, make the parents talk to their children. I'm all for it. So on the other side of the pleasure pool, that's where I start to go. Because the movies in which I would put a pleasure pool in, it's questionable. It's like, well, do we really need a pleasure pool in this scene? Sure, why not? Let's do it. But sure, why not? So they go through there, they talk to the yoga instructor. It turns out the idiot Bison knew the whole time everything, so we didn't need any of this. It's very. You could have let the runtime go a little bit there. Get everybody home a little quicker on that one. So I'm gonna skip over a lot of that. There is the So sorry, there was a giraffe drinking water joke where it's doing yoga, but the joke I thought was really funny was the hippos playing volleyball with the giraffes. Because like when you're looking at the scene, you can't even see their heads. It's just like the hippos like set it up, and one of them spiking it, and then when the giraffes are just like. Because they're already so tall. So funny to me. I don't know why. Giraffes are funny. They're funny. Go ask the Green Brothers. Then, of course, they got to run a plate. Judy can't do it. Nick happens to know a guy at the DMV, so they go there. Of course, the DMV is ran by sloths because we have to kick the DMV, the horrible place that it is. Though technology is making it better. I gotta go to the DMV this week. Shit. Okay. So, hopefully it's not ran by sloths. And the sloths are done in such a ridiculous manner, because sloths aren't, like, mechanically slow. They're just lazy. They're like, oh, I'm good. Oh, look. I don't even have to go anywhere. There's food growing on me. That's just how they are. But I don't get it. You gotta do that. And then, of course, not only does it take forever, but Nick actually like purposely delays it more by trying to tell him a joke, and then he tries to tell someone else a joke, and then it's all slow. And then Judy, she's super cute when she's mad. Like I was just like, oh, it's so adorable. It's gonna murder everyone. And she's physically having trouble like staying still enough for it. Which eventually ends up in Judy head desking, which I thought was like a perfect way to end that scene. And then she walks outside, and it's actually nighttime. Like, she's lost so much time just because Nick's an asshole. And she's on an obvious time limit where, like, people's lives and everything are on the line. I will fix that, I promise. Let's see. Okay, so, but they have the lead on the license plate. Turns out the limo belonging to a limo service. And then there's a big thing. Cops aren't allowed to trespass any more than anyone else, probably more so, without a warrant, because they have the ability to get warrants where you and I don't. So, like, they kind of play with that line, and then Judy throws, which technically would be Nick's property at that point per the agreement in her wording, throws his property on there, lets Nick find the way, and then she follows him on in suspicion. And then while she's on the property, she follows further suspicion, which is not how that works. To actually investigate the car, they find his wallet for some reason, and then of course Mr. Big's polar bears get a hold of him, because why wouldn't they? And it turns out Nick pissed off Mr. Big because he sold him a skunk fur coat or something. I don't know why that's a problem, because that's not where the smell is. Of course, you just wash it properly. Of course, they buried someone's grandma in it. But like, Mr. Big's just a tiny vole, which is the joke. Mr. Big is small. Ha ha ha, cliche. And then we start reenacting The Godfather for some reason. And the kids are not going to get that, but adults will. So there's the classic Disney formula of presenting adult jokes in a kids movie to actually get things going. So Mr. Big orders Judy and Nick to be executed. His daughter runs and interrupts because Judy happened to save her in Little Rodentia before. And they join the party to discuss things because that's what you do in that type of society. And then, of course, Mr. Big directs him to this one-eyed panther who was the driver at the time. And then the panther starts describing the feral otter. He mentions the otter yelled about night howlers a bunch, and they assume wolves are involved because wolves howl at night at the moon, apparently compulsively. We'll get there. And then all of a sudden the panther goes feral in like a matter of seconds too. Like he's in the process of unchaining the door when it happens, and then he's full on. It was a little fast for me. And it chases them, and then we cut back to the fat cheetah on a phone app trying to do dancing. And then it's because Judy and them are calling him for backup. He arranges the backup. That note doesn't make sense. Oh, Nick misses it's like a ski lift car. I don't know what you call those, rail car. To get away from the panther because he's worried about Judy hanging off the ledge, and if he just got on there, panther probably would have been concerned with him. He would have been safe in a cage, and Judy could have pulled herself up and gotten away. But instead, Nick's now cornered, and then Judy chains the panther to a pole. So Nick tries to run around him for whatever reason. The way he did it was just weird, and then he's running towards Judy, I guess, to help her up, but I think she pulls herself up, and he just knocks her off the bridge, so they fall together. They like fall into a bunch of vines, and the cops show up and rescue him there. And then when they get back, the panther's missing, so obviously there's something more going on here. Not only is this a problem and somebody's behind it, but someone's actively behind it and it's trying to impede the investigation. The chief demands the badge back, and then Nick kind of comes to the rescue here and goes, "Hey, Dick, we've got 10 hours. We're out of here," which was really cool of him. And then he goes back and does his own little flashback to childhood where he was the only predator in a group of prey, let's say, where they actually ganged up on him. And because he's not violent and because he doesn't need a muzzle, they were able to actually put one on him. So use your brain. If you're able to do these type of things to someone, usually it's because they're not trying to do the thing to you that you don't want them to do. So it's pointless. Your whole endeavor is pointless. Okay, let's see here. So we get through out of that flashback. Yay! I don't know. I could have done with that, honestly. But Nick points out about the video cameras, and they go to the town hall. The mayor's a jerk. The assistant mayor helps with the video footage. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Oh no, I do know why, because they're trying to bust the mayor. That's right. So they managed to follow the trucks on the cameras out to some remote location. They followed up. Apparently, there's a bunch of wolves on guard, night howlers, if you will. And they found video footage of the wolves kidnapping the feral animals. I guess taking them in to custody at least, because at that point they are criminals. It's not an official police force. It's like the mayor has his own secret police. It's very German of him. The otter. Oh yeah, so they find. I don't know if it's video evidence. After there's some location. Oh yeah, so Judy starts howling to try to trick all the other wolves into howling, like it's just a compulsive habit that all wolves naturally have, which is a really confusing message that like we can get away from our nature by doing what's right and evolved, but then they use that against them, and maybe that's the point, is that they use their nature against them. I don't know. It's kind of a mixed message, personally. So they go into the laboratory and they find evidence of the ferals being there, or the ones that have gone savage, I think is the term the movie uses. It turns out the otter is still there, but he's still feral. And Judy and Nick escape by flushing themselves down the toilet. Apparently, I missed that. That's what I was told. Why? Why is that a joke that we have to have? So the cops, so they get away to be able to tell the cops. The cops come down on the laboratory. The mayor's arrested because he was there, like it was his project. He was, by his accounts, trying to save these poor folks. But we have like 1 out of 13 of these savage predators left. Where did the others go? That's my question. Do we have 12 deaths at his hand? Because if he was taking them all in, then he had them at one point, and they're gone now because they're not cured, right? He's still not innocent. He should still not be reelected to mayor. He's just, I guess he was innocent of the charges filed against him. So if no new charges are filed, then whatever. Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth there. I'm trying to do this scene by scene. And then of course that leads to a press conference commemorating Judy and the assistant mayor. So she now has her time in the spotlight. There's a lot of poor word choice and phrasing about predators possibly going savage, and the mayor is obviously prey first, and then Judy actually shows some of her prejudice against predators, justified or no, because she was attacked as a child and she probably still has scars, but it doesn't mean that like Nick is responsible. It's just the fact of it. So she hurts him. The otter is still feral. Judy's trying to comfort her, or Mrs. Otterton rather. A lot of predators are being targeted and pressured out of their positions. Even the fat cheetah, who he's not doing anything. He's just attacking donuts left and right. And then in light of everything that she feels, especially because she feels she caused it, Judy quits. Because it's become a prey for society. And there's this term that I'm using here. I'm reappropriating it for prey. I see it in a lot of fantasy and sci-fi and mystery things. There's this thing that becomes humans first. So anytime you're dealing with fae or vampires or whatever that have legal rights to exist, you have groups of humans that come together and be like, well, we're the dominant species. It should only be us. How dare they have something better than us? How dare they have powers that we can't have, or whatever the nonsense is. There's people that band together and push out the minority, legal, or at least not legally, but like despite the law, it's all an analogy for white power, or majority power. So if you go to India or if you go to the Middle East, there are other groups that obviously aren't white that do the same thing. There are Christians are persecuted in certain Middle Eastern countries because Christianity is seen as an enemy of Islam faith. Not an enemy that like they need to go to war to it, but like it's a threat to the theocracy that is there. So there are other cases around the world, but like that's the analogy because it's an American company, it's an American movie with a primarily American audience. Just saying that you can relate that out to other areas. So when this movie did go worldwide, there were people that could relate to it all over the place. It's not just a little American homebrew. But okay, she obviously quits in sight of that. Let's see. And discovers that the fox that attacked her when she was a kid and that cut her face is actually working on the farm with them. It's like, oh, it's amazing. It turns out like my home is actually the dream that I had about all of us being together and being a thing and everything. So it's really amazing to me that that's how they do, if you will. How do I say it? Sorry, zoned out there. Okay, so yeah, so that of course leads us up to the Night Howlers. It turns out that they're not just wolves that howl at the moon. There's actually a brand of flowers, which were the bulbs that the weasel was stealing. So the weasel was involved. That actually bloomed these flowers called Night Howlers. Apparently they help keep bugs away or whatever, because apparently they make everything crazy. Because they mentioned like a rabbit uncle or whatever that like bit his aunt and lost his mind for a little bit because he just got a whiff of them or something. and they're trying to shoo the kids away from him altogether, which seems dumb that you would have them there, or at least like put them in a trellis. I don't know. There's other solutions. So with that in mind, like she springs into action. She rushes back to the city. She wants to find Nick. Of course, she cries and apologizes, and she's so sad because she realizes that like it's affecting everyone. It's not just predators. It's her too. It's all prey. It's the entire city, not just the 10%. And she begs for his help. And of course, he uses a reporting pin from her because it's a running gag at this point. Nick manages to find the weasel. Because his name's Weaselton, they throw in a Frozen joke, which I thought was hilarious. Because in Frozen, there's a guy from Weaseltown. He's like, "It's Wesselton," and then this weasel's played by Steve Buscemi. And I don't have a Steve Buscemi accent to do or impression. I should probably work on one. But he's like, "It's Weaselton," or it's like Mr. Wesselton. It's like, "It's Weaselton." So I thought it was funny. But they take the weasel to Mr. Big. Mr. Big has his guys extract the information out of the weasel. And then they figure out like there's a train car somewhere, and there's like this Breaking Bad joke with the sheep there for making the night howlers into a serum. And then the sheep even confesses on the phone to making the animals go savage, and like he's doing these ridiculous snipe shots, which I was actually really impressed with, especially since they're essentially using a paintball gun. I don't know if you've ever fired a paintball gun. Those things are not accurate at all. It's hard enough to aim a like a proper round straight, but like a ball ammo, you're lucky if you're hitting anything. And if you are, it's because you've got a really you've got a long enough barrel to help guide it properly. Let's see, where did I leave off at? Okay, so sheep confesses. Judy ends up booting the sheep out of the train car, which I thought was funny, and stealing the train car lab. It's like she trapped them inside, and then they managed to drive it away. They did a nice little ram where the ram is coming in. They olayed him through the door. He hit the other sheep out to the front of the car, who jumps to the sidewall to try to get away, and they did a sheep shearing joke on his belly, which was ridiculous, but like, oh yeah, sheep get sheared. And so, and this was the weirdest reference. It really made me pause and go, what's happening here? She says you gotta speed it up. It's like a line from Speed, where the bus isn't going fast enough, so they're like, we've got to speed it up because we've got to make this gap or whatever. She's talking about speeding the train up, and she ends up, I think, swinging one of the rams into the track changer at the last second. That type of cliche. Of course, the train car ends up crashing, exploding, and all the evidence is lost. Good news is the night howlers are off the street, but they don't have any immediate proof to link it to anybody. But of course, they managed to get a case somehow. And then they go to bring that to the sheep mayors, because the assistant mayor is now the new mayor at this point. Bellflower or something like that, I think is her name. And then Judy's suddenly like really suspicious of the mayor, because how did the mayor find them where they were? It's the mayor just waited for them to show up and come to her. Like, they would have been fine, but she tripped up her own suspicion. Let's see. So they start running. Judy hurts her foot. They trick the guards with like a shadow puppet show or something. It's really stupid. They run, and then they get trapped in like this pit exhibit. Like, I don't know why we have things like that. Like, especially in this world, it's essentially like a tiger trap exhibit. But I mean, unless there's glass on top that you can walk over, I'm not sure why it exists like that. Let's see. Okay, and then she decides to shoot Nick with the serum because she's an evil mastermind. You don't have to be prey to hurt other people. That's the point. And then Nick starts going savage, and then she starts going on and on with the evil monologue. Fear, it's this great line, fear always works. And as prey, living in a predator world, maybe that is the life you live. But again, let's overcome our natures and be people. I think that's the underlying message, anyways. So Nick pretends to bite her, and they reveal it's pretend. They even like kind of reenact the play that she did when she was younger. And they reveal that they put blueberries in the gun. Now, if you put blueberries in a paintball gun, yeah, they're still gonna splat, but it's gonna be really different, and it's not gonna disappear like these other ones have been doing. So I just thought it was funny. Let's see. Of course, they use the recording pen again because it's a huge plot device to record her, and if that wasn't enough, the PD are rolling in right that second, anyways. So like the pen's just gonna be there for court. They roll up to arrest her, and then let's see. They go into like this weird disassociative newscast to talk about the different things happening. It's kind of like an epilogue before the movie ends, if you will. I don't know. Like, it's not a choice that I would ever make for it. Like, the epilogue's for the epilogue. It's like in the movie, epilogue, then credits. But so the old mayor Lionheart or whatever has been reinstated. They managed to create an anti-serum and save Mr. Otterton, but I don't know if it's like rabies and eventually it would be fatal. So again, I don't know what happened to the other 12. I'm so curious. Like the Panther was taken relatively recently. Like, in fact, after Otterton, because the Panther was taken as part of the Otterton investigation. So the Panther should have been fine. They don't show that. Huh. Maybe it's because the otter's so small. I don't know. And then we go into narration about the social balances being restored, with the predators coming back into the fold and taking up their old jobs like they should have been the entire time, because why would you get kicked out because you are a thing? If you can do the job, do the job. Nick's brought on actually on the force, which they skip his training montage and all, but hey, it's still okay. It's cute enough that they're small enough to share a seat compared to some of the other people. Of course, they're made partners. They make a joke about putting them on ticketing duty, but I'm curious who is doing ticketing duty then, because now they're making fun of that guy. It's a job. I respect that much. But let's see. Oh yeah, and they're out about like doing their beat, because I think they're beat cops at that point. And they pull over Flash for speeding, which is funny because he's a sloth. And then we go into a music concert for Gaga Gazelle, or whatever her name is, and that's kind of the end credits there. I don't want to drag this out because this format does take a little bit of time. I didn't have anybody to add comedic relief in here, balancing this both parts. That is quite a bit. So I don't think this is going to be something that I do by myself very often. But I was super happy to talk to people about this and break down. I wouldn't mind doing a more brief discussion later, or even doing this with people later on, because I already have the notes, so why not? But until you see me next time, I am Camerai. This has been Cinephiles Anonymous with Zootopia. Trying to remember how we do this. So yeah, this has been Cinephiles Anonymous on #WeAreMovieClub. Thanks for watching. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.